All right, guys. Well, good afternoon. Thanks for being here, everybody. I just wanted to start, our press conference off by, sending our deepest prayers and thoughts to the Schottenheimer family. As a young guy growing up, young kid growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, I saw the impact that Coach Schottenheimer had on the Cleveland Browns, and to have had the head coaching career that he had for 4 different NFL teams, one of the best all-time winning percentages of any head coach in the modern era. To truly stand the test of time in this league is just remarkable. And to see how his former players, former coaches, owners, all the people that he directly impacted, to see the way they've responded in the last few days is just amazing. And I think that's what all of us that coach hope to accomplish, is to have people feel that way about us. So just our deepest thoughts and prayers to the Schottenheimer family, from us. And with that, guys, I'd like to announce our coaching staff this afternoon, and would like to open it up to any questions.
All right. Start off with Jorge. Jorge, go ahead.
Hi, Staley. Good morning.
Good morning.
If I may, how many people do you consider having on your staff in your first week as a head coach, and how many since then?
So, how many have I hired, Jorge?
Yeah. Well, how many people you consider joining in the staff in your first week as a head coach?
Yeah.
And then how many then?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a very competitive process. I think to hire coaches in this league, the competition is fierce. So I think that sort of expressed itself, being able to sort of recruit and attack that process. I thought we were really thorough in our search process, and really detailed and what we were looking for, in our coaching staff within all these positions. And the first things that really stand out were character and capacity. We wanted that in all of our coaching staff, and we wanted this opportunity to mean something. We wanted to be a Charger. We wanted it to mean a lot to these coaches, and I think that we were able to assemble that here. I think we're very proud of the coaching staff that's here and how we went about hiring this staff, because I think our process was really detailed. We were really committed, and I think that we've assembled a really good group of people here.
And if I may, how is the confidence with Jeff Smith and Dan keeping another season with the Chargers?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think, you're always trying to, keep good coaches here, people that have accomplished a lot, people like that are a fit moving forward, and kind of your vision of how this team is going to look. And I think that they've certainly matched that, and we're very excited about them moving forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Jim Hill. Got to unmute yourself, Jim.
How's that? How are you doing, Coach?
Good afternoon, Jim. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Listen, with the way the league has been going the last couple of years, and with your experience, would you say that from an offensive standpoint, your team next year will be more progressive?
Yeah, Jim, good question. That certainly was our goal. That was our mission statement, was to provide Justin and all these players on offense, Keenan, Mike, Austin, our line, tight end group. We wanted to provide them with a coaching staff that was at the cutting edge in pro football, guys that come from some of the premier offenses in the league, that have a shared vision of how we want to play, and that can bring a variety of backgrounds, both from the pro game and in the college game, to combine forces and to really create something unique. And I think that was our goal. Our mission statement is to really take this offense to something new, and I think that we've been able to do that. And I think it's, I talked about the character and capacity of these guys, but I also think they have offensive backgrounds that fit how we want to play, and really excited about all those guys that we have on that offensive staff.
And as far as Justin is concerned, you got the rookie of the year, the defending rookie of the year right now. How does he compare to other young quarterbacks that you have coached in the past?
Yeah, Jim, I think, Justin, the year that he just had, and certainly so proud of him, the Rookie of the Year award, amazing, not surprising. But like we talked about in the first press conference, I've learned, guys, so much about him since that press conference, from his teammates, from people around the organization. And I think, being able to see him in person now. He just got back a couple days ago, as you guys know. I think it's just easy to see why this guy is so successful because he's got such a great head on his shoulders. And you know, the physical gifts you guys are so much, you know, aware of, but I think it's the head on his shoulders and his commitment to being as good as he can be at his craft and being such a great teammate. I think what we wanted to do, Jim, is just really support him with some of the best minds in football that are also some of the best people in football, because certainly that environment is going to be so important. And we think that we've really done that. We think we've assembled a really special group around him that's going to allow him to be as good as he can be. And he's certainly off to a great start.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Nick Hamilton.
Good afternoon, Coach Staley.
Hi, Nick.
I wanted to ask you, kind of piggyback off Justin. You mentioned all his accolades, but what specifically are you looking forward to instilling upon him to take him to even higher heights as a quarterback, especially in the National Football League?
I think, Nick, that chemistry with your supporting cast, with the guy, you know, with your wideouts, with your skill group, you know, backs, wideouts, tight ends, and then also that chemistry with your line. I think as a quarterback, people want to talk about your weapons, but sometimes it's that brotherhood that you have with your own line. Okay, it's equally as important. So I think as a quarterback, when you have a full, you know, off season, you know, with your group, that can be a winning edge, and just establishing those relationships and that trust. That is so important to anything, but specifically the quarterback position, timing, rhythm, you know, that trust in one another. I think that's so important to establish in the off season. And then just the work ethic, you know, being able to lift weights and run and really develop that brotherhood. The fact that Justin gets to do that now is kind of his feet are in the ground. I know how much he enjoys that process, and I think that that's a real strength of his, is his leadership ability to make everybody better.
And also, too, based upon what we've seen from the success with guys like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, it seemed like their teams really surrounded them with a lot of offensive talent to give them all the weapons that they need to be able to be successful. Is that something that you're looking into more, as far as surrounding him with the proper weapons to be successful and to get to one day to get to that level of competing for a Super Bowl?
Yeah, Nick, you know what? It's such a great point. You gotta surround your quarterback with a complete team, Nick. And I think Tampa's a good illustration. They added the skill players that you guys are aware of. You know, Jones and Fournette, Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. But then their line is exceptional. Donovan Smith. You've got Tristan Wirfs, Jensen, who was one of the high, free agent acquisitions a couple years ago from Baltimore, Ali Marpet. All those guys, it's a complete offense. Okay, and then the other thing, Nick, is, that defense is really good. That front seven really came alive in that game. And, sometimes everyone wants to talk about a quarterback, his offensive weapons, but sometimes a weapon for a quarterback is having a great defense as well, is a defense that plays complementary football, where the pressure isn't on that guy to score and outscore you every single game. And I thought that, Tampa, certainly stood the test of time this year, being a complete team and certainly with Tom leading the way. And that's certainly what we're hoping to build here for Justin.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Copper.
Hey, Brandon. What specifically appealed to you about Shane Day, your new quarterbacks coach?
Yeah, Daniel, I think he's got a really diverse background. This guy's coached quarterbacks. He's coached tight ends, which, Daniel, in the NFL, that tight end position is asked to do so many things in the run game, in the passing game, pass protection. That's such it's a position that requires a lot of different skill sets. And then he has kind of an O-line background. He's coordinated offense in the college game. And certainly, Daniel, he's been around, one of the premium systems in the NFL with Kyle the last several years. So just felt like he had a really well-rounded background. And then specifically coaching the quarterback from a fundamental position, feel like he coaches fundamentally the quarterback the way that Joe and myself believe in coaching the quarterback from a technique standpoint. And so I just think his background was really unique and fit really well with myself and Joe.
Just looking over your staff, you obviously have Shane from Kyle Shanahan's system. Kevin, your tight ends coach, was from Matt LaFleur's system. Obviously, Joe worked under Sean Payton. You've worked with Sean. I mean, you're talking about a bunch of the best offensive systems in the NFL. Was that an intentional approach in this process to try and find coaches who have worked in these systems that have worked in the NFL? Was that something intentional on your behalf?
Daniel, definitely. Really good points. And then, Daniel, I would add that, all those system guys you guys are well of, super established in this league. And then we have some guys that we're able to hire from college, Daniel, that come from, a lot of different, diverse backgrounds. Chris Beatty, who's been a coordinator in college, Derek Foster coming from the University of Iowa, pro style, operation there with Kirk. And so we were able to add a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, because what we're trying to do, Daniel, is trying to create our offense, create the Chargers offense. And the only way you do that is you kind of have an aligned vision of how you want to play, but you have to have that competition of ideas to be able to create something for us. And I think that we did that. And all those guys, are already off and running together, and the chemistry of that staff is already starting to express itself, and I'm excited about it.
Justin mentioned earlier in the week that it's going to be a mix and match with the offensive system, and he mentioned that the offense had a decent amount of success last year. Yeah. Running some Shanahan-inspired stuff under Anthony. I mean, how much stuff do you expect to carry over? Obviously, there's a lot that you still have to figure out, but is it going to be a decent amount that they ran last year? Is it going to be bits and pieces? Sort of what are you expecting in terms of the carryover from last year's system?
Yeah, Daniel, I think you're just trying to establish a comfort zone with Justin, and certainly there's a lot of conceptual carryover within a lot of the offenses in the NFL. So our offensive staff being able to kind of translate some of the things maybe from the old staff that this guy was really successful. Hey, you guys called it this, we call it that. Hey, how did you read out this progression? Could be something as simple as like, hey, where's the quarterback location, under, gun, just getting him in that comfort zone, establishing that foundation that's so important, and then him being able to take that ownership of where he's comfortable. And then now with our new staff, okay, now how do we bring our offense to life? But that's what you're always trying to do, Daniel. I think it's a really good point. You're trying to establish a comfort zone with that player, and I know that's been really important to Joe, myself, and all of our coaches.
So you first met Joe Lombardi at Mercyhurst some years ago when you were the quarterback there. What do you remember about that year that you spent with Joe Lombardi?
I really fell in love with studying the game. I felt like Joe was an outstanding teacher. I felt like he was really progressive at that time. I'd never been around an offense like that really challenged the quarterback from a mental standpoint, from a preparation standpoint. And as you guys know, as a gym rat, I love that. I couldn't get enough of it. And he really taught me the game at a high level, protections, the run game. Okay, how do these concepts fit together? How can we get in and out of plays? And I thought that at that time, that's kind of where my love for coaching, I think, offensive football really came, was from him, because I loved playing for him, because I learned so much and he made me better. And I think that, we saw the game the same way. And, that relationship has, really stood the test of time. And like I told you guys, I probably wouldn't be here without him, because of how much he's taught me. And now us being able to team up every day to, help create this offense is really exciting, Daniel.
And then last one for me, I got to ask you a football question while I have you on field. But Joey Bosa, where is he going to fit in this defense? Is he going to move around a lot? Is he going to be on the line, at the line of scrimmage? Because obviously that's where he thrives in terms of using his hands. But is it possible that he plays outside linebacker? Like, where does he exactly fit in here based on, whatever work you've done so far?
Yeah, Daniel, he's going to be on the edge of our defense, in a playmaking role. I think that the fact that he has a unique physical skill set allows you to have that versatility that we like to play with, because he can be on the edge of your defense as an outside pass rusher, and then he can also be a little bit closer to the ball as an interior defensive lineman, because he has the length and strength to be able to anchor too. So I think he's a guy, Daniel, that you can see being in a playmaking position for us for sure. I think that from a comp standpoint, everyone wants, like comps, he probably comps more like a Khalil Mack, Aldon Smith type body type and playmaking, role for us if you're into that. And I think that's kind of his style of play. But I think the thing about Joey is he's a football playing Jesse, man. He's going to play well wherever, but we're certainly going to try and put him in his comfort zone, getting him doing what he does really well. And just can't wait to get to work with Joey.
The fans will appreciate that comp, Brandon. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Herbert.
Hey, Brandon, have you had a first coaching full staff meeting yet?
Gilberto, it's going to happen at 3:00 today. Okay,
Yeah,
3
pretty
o'clock
excited
today.
about that.
Very excited. We everybody got here kind of yesterday, so it kind of felt a little bit like freshman orientation, first day of school. A lot of energy. Had to pass some COVID protocols, and in 2021 we're there. So we had to kind of go through that, and we kind of passed that milestone, and now we get to be a staff. And really get this thing started. It's officially a new season, guys, and with a new season comes a lot of work and laying our foundation. And at 3 o'clock today will be our first full staff meeting.
And Brandon, maybe I missed it, but I don't think you have an assistant head coach. Usually the person who's kind of most experienced, you kind of lean on. Is it going to be a coach you kind of want to lean on who has a lot of experience, or is it going to be kind of a handful of coaches you're going to lean on?
Yeah, good question, Gilbert. It's going to be a team effort. We've got a lot, as Daniel kind of alluded to, we've got people from a lot of different coaching staffs that have a lot of really cool backgrounds that have experienced a lot of success in this league. And so as a first-time head coach, you're always trying to find out the best way for the Chargers, and certainly leaning on people with a diversity of experiences. That's what we've tried to do with this staff, is kind of complement yourself with people that you respect, organizations that you respect, whether it's college or the NFL. But it'll be a team effort for sure.
And Brandon, I noticed there are two run game coordinators. Is that just one on defense and offense kind of thing, stopping the run and establishing the run?
Yeah, Gilberto, just those guys, Jay Rogers, who I worked with in Chicago, who is an absolute superstar. Us having that foundation of knowing one another and how we want to play. This guy's a future defensive coordinator. I mean, he's one of the most highly sought after guys in the NFL, one of the best coaches I know. So he's going to be spearheading, that on our defensive side with Gift Smith, and then, on the other side, getting a Frank Smith here on offense. Working closely with Sean Surratt. I mean, we're really excited about those two guys because you have to be a line of scrimmage team in this league, and we certainly are hoping to be able to live that, and those guys will be leading the way.
Brandon, going back to the hiring process, was there somebody or a coach that you kind of need to convince and sell more to come to the Chargers?
Every single one of them. It's so competitive, guys. Recruiting plays a part of it. Strategy plays a big part of it. But at the end of the day, what was really important to us is that people wanted to be here, and that this opportunity was going to mean everything in the world to them. That was really important to me. That's what I told Dean Spanos, John, Tom Telesco, Ed McGuire, that every man or woman that works for us, that this means everything to them. And so we wanted to be really upfront, in the interview process about what we're looking for and how we plan on doing things, and hopefully that would attract the right type of people.
And Brandon, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself again, and maybe we already asked you before, but with Kenneth Murray, he's a very versatile linebacker. Do you see him more as an outside linebacker, an inside linebacker, middle linebacker? What do you kind of see as a fit for Kenneth Murray in your scheme?
Yeah, so excited to coach Kenneth Gilberto, but he's an off-the-ball linebacker. He's a guy that's going to play behind the ball for us, and it's going to be in the middle of our defense, and he can do so many things, whether that's in the run game, in the pass coverage, or as a pass rusher, from the linebacker position. He's one of those guys that really has a chance to become a complete linebacker, and we're excited to work with him, but he'll be behind the ball for us.
Okay. And last one, Brandon. Sorry for all the questions, but I want to get the local guy in there, John Timo. Grew up in Long Beach, and you coached him with the Chicago Bears. Is that a little wild that you have a former player on your coaching staff?
I was so fired up, guys. Johnny Timo from Long Beach, with the long hair that doesn't care. This guy, he was one of Vic Fangio's favorites in Chicago, one of our favorites on that staff. This guy played a lot of winning football for us in Chicago on a group that, as you guys know, was pretty special. This guy was an outstanding player at the University of Washington, and they after he was done playing, sure enough, he goes right back to Washington and was there with Chris Peterson and Jimmy Lake, who I have a ton of respect for. And so the fact that we were able to get him closer to home, he's on his way to Husband of the Year honors with his wife. So we were able to bring him back home, and that's what's really special, is being able to allow people to live their dreams. And we're really excited about being able to work together and really start his coaching career in the NFL.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Fernando.
Hey, Brandon, how are you doing?
Doing well, Fernando.
So what excites you the most now that you put your staff together and everything? What excites you the most about the next step of the process of you being obviously a first-time head coach?
Yeah, Fernando, such a good question. I think what's so exciting is when you're building something, and so hey, now we're building, our evaluation process. You're starting free agency here shortly, right? So being able to build that evaluation process and then leading up into the draft. So that collaborative process with the coaching staff and our personnel department, being able to build that, and then building our offseason program with our sports performance team, and then building our schemes on offense, defense, and the kicking game, and establishing our way of playing, and being able to accomplish all of that in a day. It makes you excited because there's a lot of work to be done. When you're building something at the beginning, there's so much work to be done. And so that's what we're trying to get after right away, and certainly looking forward to it.
And on obviously right now you're focused on free agency and the draft and everything, but obviously on Sunday one of your division rivals played in the Super Bowl. Were you in your basement taking notes, watching the game, kind of trying to figure out some of the schemes that Todd Bowles was using to go up against the high-powered Chiefs offense, or what were you doing on Sunday, taking notes and all that stuff, or?
Yeah, Fernando, I was at the Staley household with my 3 boys and my wife. We were definitely watching the game. My 3 boys, were definitely interested in it. They got these baseball cards of all these, football cards of all these people that were in that game that they know really well. So we're teaching them numbers. An easy way to do that is with their football cards. So they're aware of who these guys are, and they're also really aware of who the good players are. And so there were a lot of good players in that game. So Fernando, I don't think I've ever watched the game as a fan in my life. I don't watch games like as a fan. I always watched it as a coach, even when I was a little kid. So, you're always trying to study, hey, time, score, situation, what type of schemes both teams are running, putting yourself in that mode of the decision making. And, I rewind way more, guys, than my wife, would prefer, but that's just kind of, and my boys, they're like, Dad, keep it moving. But yeah, definitely in that mode of coaching and competing, and it was a really good performance by the Bucs, certainly.
Brandon, I know that you've only been on the job for less than a month, but I'm sure you've already looked at film from last season and kind of broke down the team. There were 7-9 4-game win streak, but what was the most impressive part from the team last year that you think moving forward you guys can continue moving forward and turn it into maybe a negative that you can turn into a positive moving forward?
Yeah, good question. I think that I'm at the beginning of that evaluation process, Fernando. I'm talking about pure ball, film, all that good stuff, player evaluation. We're at the beginning of that, but I think, Fernando, what I've enjoyed the most over the last however many, whatever is it, 3 weeks, guys, I don't know, is meeting our players, is being able to meet our players. That's what I've enjoyed the most, whether they come here in person, all right, or being able to text or call. That's what I've enjoyed the most, because I feel like I learn more, Fernando, from what I see in person. And I think that that's something that I've tried to spend a lot of time on, and I've been able to kind of do it here over time. And, yesterday I met Justin Jones, and so just really, coached his teammate Bradley Chubb from NC State. And I think meeting the guys is what I've really enjoyed the most, Fernando, and getting started with these guys and finding out all about them and their stories and where they come from and where they're trying to go. And, you just listen to Justin talk about his wife, Candace, his little girl, Kamaya, and that's what makes it fun for me.
Anybody's personality jump out at you?
Man, all of them, Fernando, all of them. That's they're all unique, and so I think them being able to meet you as well, and just starting that foundation, it's so important, and there's so much more work to be done.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you,
Michael.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to ask you about your experience putting together your first coaching staff at the NFL level, and if there was any notable, moments, whether it was a struggle or maybe a moment you just found yourself having a ton of fun.
A ton of fun. It was a very challenging process, competitive for sure, and I think that it was a team effort. I think that we have a great organization here that really supported me and supported us throughout the whole process. And I think that something I'm proud of, Michael, is just our process in hiring people, the interview process, and really vetting people. And there are a lot of guys that I had relationships with, and there were guys that I didn't have direct relationships with. And then just going through that really thorough process to make sure that you get the right fit for that role. And I think that was what was most exciting, Michael, is having, traditionally been like one side of the ball that you kind of have an imprint on, and now being able to put a whole staff together, great opportunity, but also a lot of responsibility that comes with it. So I was proud of the way we went about it as an organization, and certainly proud of the product that we have here today.
So looking at your staff, you have an inside linebackers coach and an outside linebackers coach, and fans may look at that and say, well, that signifies going from a 4-3 to a 3-4, but you've made it known it's not that simple, right? We're not just going to do this front or this front. How would you kind of explain the main differences between, again, the inside and how you would use an outside linebackers coach and that position in general in your defense?
Yeah, Michael, great points. And I think for fans out there, like outside linebackers are really just edge players. Those guys are edge defenders. Right? Inside linebackers, they're behind the football. So whether you're playing like a 3-4, structure and base, which we don't play very much, less than 15 to 20%, like that grouping, we play like 20 or less % of the time. Most of the NFL is 3 wide receivers, so a lot of times you're in 5 DB groupings. And so if you're in a 5 DB orchestration, then those edge players become defensive ends, and your defensive ends in the 3-4 base world, they become defensive tackles. So you really got to break it down to inside players and edge players. And then you got a bunch of DBs that kind of do a lot of jobs, and then inside linebackers play behind the ball. So 3-4 to me, Michael, is just a way that your personnel is organized, but how that expresses itself on game day, what you actually activate, it's probably not going to look like 3-4 at all. If you guys look at PFF, you look at the analytics, you'll say, well, they never play 3-4. So it's just a way of organizing your personnel, and then how you activate it, right, is going to change, week to week, season to season.
Lastly, I just want to get your thoughts specifically on the hire of Derek Foster. I graduated University of Iowa. I know he was a superstar in that program. I know he was a heck of a recruiter. So just, was obviously excited to see that hire, but wanted to get your thoughts on him specifically.
This guy's high character, high capacity. I've known Derek. We worked together in 2012 at the University of Tennessee. And I called Kirk Ferentz. I knew when Derek went to Iowa, I was in Chicago when he got that job. And, Kirk Ferentz is someone I have the utmost respect for, and knew that Derek was a guy that definitely I wanted to talk to about the job. And in listening to Kirk Ferentz and the footprint that Derek had on that program, as you guys know, one of the most established programs in the country, was just remarkable. And Kirk Ferentz is just one of these coaches that stands out at all levels. And I think that the mark that Derek left in 3 short years there is remarkable. And being able to team up with him is certainly something I'm excited about with our running back group and what we ask of that position. I think Derek's just such a great fit for that position, and certainly his work speaks for itself where he came from, and having a first team All Big Ten runner last year, and being in charge of their recruiting coordinator for offense, just having a really good eye for talent as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Matt Money Smith.
All right, thanks, Josh. Hi, Coach. And you know what? I'll pick up there with Derek. When you hire coaches, do you talk to them about your personnel and just kind of what their evaluations are? Just kind of thinking about that running back room, and it seemed like there was a constant kind of they sought out that complementary back, that second back to Austin that never was solidified. Is that brought up, or is it more philosophy stuff?
Yeah, man, I think it's philosophical. I think that when you go into an interview process, I think the candidates are aware of your personnel. I do think that plays a part in them wanting to come, to your organization, and certainly we're excited about who we have at that position. And I think, starting with Austin, I mean, obviously with the diversity of his skill set and really fitting how we want to play on offense, I think you start there. And then, I think we've got, some guys that are really, kind of waiting in the wings to kind of earn their way in this league that have a lot of ability that also fit the way we want to play. And we're excited for them to develop and, get with our coaching staff and see where we can take their game. And I think that like with Derek, Matt, what we're looking for is coaches that can teach and that can develop and that have a history of that, like a track record of taking players wherever they've coached and helping them become as good as they can be. And I think what Derek has been able to do the last 3 years at Iowa and before, certainly excited about him getting with that running back group.
One of the things that Coach Swinton brought up when we had the pleasure of talking with him, what a great guy, inspiring guy, by the way, just awesome. He brought up there was a 3-coach sort of management team that they had in Arizona that allowed Coach Kingsbury to kind of just be free to coach. And they were mindful of situational, of clock management, and just kind of going back to last year, some things that got away from this team that might have cost him a couple wins. Is that something that he talked to you about, that you talked to him about, or that you'll think about having on this team?
Yeah, Matt, great points. I think that you hit on a lot of them, and it's a reason why, and I'm glad you all got to meet Darius, because his background is so unique, and he's got such a diverse skill set as a coach, special teams background, offense and defense. He's a defensive player, and so he's got that diversity of background, but also has a game management background specifically with Arizona. And I think that that was one of the reasons why we felt like it was such an attractive candidate, because he was directly responsible for something like that. And I think that certainly what we're going to try and model here, and more than anything, as I think he probably articulated, is just having a very streamlined way of communication when you're in the fire and things are happening in real time, and being able to partner up with our coaching staff, our analytics, and being able to make the best decisions that we can, and have that collaborative environment to become as good as we can be in that area. And it's such an ongoing process, and you have to work at it every single day, off season and in season. And he's certainly got a great background in that area.
And then going to keeping Coach Smith and Dan. Are you comfortable asking players' opinion? Do you not want to open that box when it comes to kind of the guys that were still here and figuring out which ones, might stay? We just know that, anytime you ask Joey about Coach Smith, he would just effusive with his praise and how much that might have played into that.
Well, I think, Matt, as much as anything, I worked with 2 coaches at the Rams that, learned from Gift Smith. Eric Henderson, who's a superstar, Chris Shula, those guys mean a lot to me. They learned from Gift Smith. And, our work in L.A., obviously very proud of that work, but wouldn't have happened had they not learned from a Gift Smith. And Gift Smith's work has spoken for itself, and we're so excited that he wanted to be a part of it. It's one thing if you want, we want to keep Gift, but hey, does he want to be a part of it? And so he and his wife, Jenny, his family, to be able to keep them on board and keep this thing moving in a really strong direction. And the front here with the Chargers has been a strength of this team. And so you're always looking to keep that in place if you can. And we're so grateful that Giff and his family want to be a part of this.
And then just last thing real quick. You mentioned your boys and the football cards. Are they allowed to hold them? Is it a Pat Mahomes rookie and laminate? Like what goes on with football cards in the Staley household?
Yeah, it's an ongoing process, guys. Every day they're just learning more and more people. And I'll tell you a quick story that I think you guys will all appreciate. We were playing Green Bay in the in that second round game, and Colin, my 6-year-old, came up to me and he said, "Aaron Rodgers, showed me his card. Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones. Dad, these guys are really good." I said, "I know, man. I know. That's why we're working so hard because they are really good." So, like I said, he knows who the good ones are, and we're working on memorizing the colleges they went to now. But we're building slowly but surely.
There we go. A little UTEP in there. All right, Coach. Thank you.
All right, guys. We got 4 folks left in the queue, and then we'll have to wrap it after that. Let's go to Chris Harry.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the diverse backgrounds of your coaching staff. Are there a couple of core traits that you were looking for that maybe all of these guys possess?
Yeah, Chris, I don't want to sound repetitive, but character and capacity were at the very front of all of our coaching decisions and other areas. That means everything to me because I think if you have those 2 things, then you can take things a long way. I think one without the other, eventually you're going to get exposed. And so it really starts with character and capacity. And then, then when you get into the specifics, your ability to teach, lead, those things really matter. And your ability to build relationships and being an expert in your field. I talk a lot about command. Command is passion with your expertise. That's what people follow. And I think we wanted people that certainly, embodied that. And then I think, Chris, what we wanted is people from a diverse set of backgrounds, from like football experiences, walks of life, people in their football journey, and then people that really fit together because we want that competition of experiences, competition of ideas in order for us to be as good as we can be.
And also with Joe, obviously you have your relationship goes way back, but what he was able to accomplish in New Orleans, not only with Drew Brees, but when you talk about guys like Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater, and obviously developing Jameis Winston behind the scenes, being able to play different ways, how much is that going to benefit your offense and Justin specifically?
Yeah, Chris, I think those are really good points because a lot of people will measure how how Drew Brees played for you, and like I said, there's a lot of these superstar players that would play well for whomever. But I think when you talk to Drew Brees specifically and the impact that Joe had with Drew, I think that's something that I was so excited about. I got to see it firsthand when I was a lot younger. And then as it's grown, just the way that he's impacted Drew's life, both on and off the field, just what a great person he is, and then the teacher, the coach, the leader, all that good stuff. But then I think you hit on something else that's really important is getting all of your players playing well, because those guys that you mentioned, Chris, they're all different. Teddy, Taysom, Jameis, you even go back like Luke McCown, Chase Daniel, those guys in New Orleans, all those quarterbacks played well for that team, okay? And people, all those guys have had extensive NFL careers as backups and some of them as starters. And I think that they would all tell you that foundation in New Orleans really impacted their career and the way they prepare and the way they play and the way they think about offensive football. So I think that background just really was what I was hoping for and helping Justin and our offensive group be as good as they can be.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Joe Reedy.
Brandon, with Chris Beatty, what stood out with him as far as, making the jump to the pro ranks since he'd been in college for a while, and I'm sure he got many pro offers in the past?
Yeah, Joe, you're right about that in terms of the offers. This guy has been, kind of highly considered for several years, and I actually recommended Chris to those guys in New Orleans a few years ago, and he was a guy that, with Sean, was a guy that I had on his radar with the Rams. So, Chris is a guy that's got a really cool background, high school coach. I mean, one of the most highly successful coaches in Virginia Beach, then becomes an offensive coordinator at Hampton. And then I worked with him in 2007 at Northern Illinois. And then since then, I mean, he's been at, all the big time college programs in a lot of different roles, coordinator, wideout coach, running back coach the quarterbacks. He's just got a really diverse offensive background. And then his experience as a player, he was an outstanding wideout at East Tennessee State. And, specifically with that position, just really felt like, that group for us, as you guys all know, is a huge strength of our team. And, hopefully with his coaching, it can become even stronger because we've got a great foundation. And I know that this guy can teach and lead and can bring a lot to our offense as a wideout coach, and then helping our offense evolve schematically too.
Just with the new staff, and who knows how the off-season programs are going to be, and obviously the combine is a whole lot different this year. In terms of relaying to the scouts and Tom what type of players fit your system, how much of those meetings are happening in the next couple weeks, maybe compared to how they would normally be?
Yeah, Joe, those are all important points when you get onboarded as a new coaching staff. And guys, a lot of people make stuff about systems and, hey, personnel traits and players and stuff like that. And we definitely have things that we're looking for. But we want our systems to be flexible for good players. And that's something that's a hallmark of where we've been, is we've played different ways based on the players that we have. And certainly when you're building things over time, you would like it to look a certain way, and we've already, begun that process with Tom and our scouting department. And so I think that when you have a clarity of vision, Joe, having a clarity of vision for a player and his role, it's the most important thing that you can have in an organization. Where there's not a disconnect in what you think this guy is and what you're asking him to do. And so, Joe, you just hit on such an important point, because in this process, it's really linking those two places, coaching and personnel, to have a unified vision going into this evaluation process, free agency and the draft, and making sure that you're making really clear-cut decisions. And it's been really fun to partner up with Tom, who has so much experience, John, JoJo Wooten, all these amazing guys that I've been able to meet over the last several weeks and team up together to build our team in the best way possible.
In terms of cut-ups in a base playbook, is there a timeline to get something out? And have you talked with like Stefanski and some of the first-year head coaches last year about how their process went in a virtual offseason and putting in their new plans?
Yeah, Joe, I think what's really special about the NFL is the fraternity of coaches. I've had a lot of people reach out to me that I did not know before, which I just think speaks of the humanity and just sort of that brotherhood that I was talking about. So very gracious with their experiences, and I've been fortunate. There have been so many I can't name on this call, but just so many people that I'm so grateful for. But I think, Joe, me going to LA last year and having to install our defense virtually, and then Sean, he may have been in year 4 of his offense, but certainly year 1 in installing it in a pandemic. And so I think going through that process certainly has given all of us coaches sort of a snapshot into how we need to progress. And like I said, that diversity of experiences on this staff will hopefully help us do it even better, So, and that's what you're hoping for. And that's what we're really in the process of undertaking right now.
And then just last thing for me, it sounded like Joe Barry was going to be part of your staff. He got the defensive coordinator job at Green Bay. Just how much of an adjustment was that, or did you kind of know well enough in advance that you had contingencies planned?
Well, number one, Joe, I'm so happy for Joe and Chrissy Berry. They mean a lot to me. I certainly wouldn't be here without that family, and I'm just so thrilled. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, and I know that it was something that was really special for me to be able to see him live his dream and earn that opportunity. That's what you're after. You want to see your people live their dreams, and certainly going to coach in Green Bay with Matt and that great group. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. So happy for them, and we're going to be rooting for them. And then you do have contingencies, Joe. You got to have that really at all your positions, and coaching staff, because when with success comes opportunity for people, and so we were able to move in a new direction and a direction that we're really excited about.
Okay, thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Shelley.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, Shelley.
How many guys have come in the off season, and what are they allowed to do? Can they work out? Can you watch film? Can you? I just don't know what the COVID rules are, or your rules, or.
Yeah, Shelley, I think that we're all kind of trying to figure that out, Shelley, you and me both. So I think the NFL wanted to get through that game the other night and then proceed with a plan. So yeah. I think me and you, we're in the same boat, I think you and myself. So, I think that long-term planning sketch, guys, I think, that doesn't really exist right now. So we're trying to have our feet on the ground today. But I think that the NFL is still defining the parameters of the offseason, starting, because we're a new staff, traditionally those dates have been etched in stone, but okay, well, what does that mean? Okay,
right.
Are you starting virtually? Is it going to be some type of hybrid model? We're still waiting to hear from the league on that, and so we'll be ready for whatever they decide, which is the safest and healthiest model for us moving forward, and then we'll work from there.
Off the top of your head, how many players have you met? Justin Jones.
Ooh, yeah.
Derwin James.
Man, yeah, DJ was here the other day. He looks amazing.
Yeah, I saw the video with him and your kids. He was so cute.
So I would say the amount in person, Shelley, maybe like 20 to 25-ish in person, because, guys are, we're scattered. But I've been able to hit most of them through text or call, though. I still have got some work to do on that, for sure. Not there yet, but.
Can they work out? Can they, as I demonstrate, can they?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they can still work out here at the facility and all that, and get with Dame, our trainer, and with our strength staff. They can still do that on their own, but certainly not with any of us in the coaching staff.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, last one, Cam.
Hey, thanks, Coach, for making time for us today. Those phone calls you received when you took the job were probably an indication of your character, Coach, all that I gather. So good job on that part. I'd like to ask you about the coordinators that you hired. How much of those were the relationships that you already had, or the coaches that you wanted to bring in? How'd you go about deciding those coordinators?
Yeah, Cameron, I think it was really wanted to put together a group of leaders that could define our team, and somebody, all three people, all three men, really shaping our team with one vision, with a common vision. And I think that I do have relationships with all three of these guys, but I think what's even bigger than the relationship is how we see football and how we see not only how to play, but how to teach, how to lead. And I think that that's where that alignment that I've talked a lot about, that's what we were trying to create. And I think that we've been able to do that with Joe and Arhill and Darius. And I think that all those men stand for the things that we've discussed on this call with character and capacity, and then the specific scheme and the player profile, how we want to do this. We're in complete alignment, and it's just so excited to finally get started with these guys.
And as a initial coach, head coach, this being your first head coaching job in the NFL, it looked like you took the approach that football is football, because you did grab a lot of coaches that have a diverse background. Was that your strategy? And then what was your selling point to these coaches that joined your team and maybe did not join your team? What was that selling strategy?
Yeah, those are great points. I think in terms of selling, Cameron, what I want to do is I want to tell the truth about the Chargers. I think that that's something that's really important to me. I don't like that sell term very much. I want to tell the truth about the Chargers and the way that I saw this team, where we can go, and how we were going to get there, and try to be really upfront, transparent on the front end so there are no surprises, and really define those roles in a very clear way so these people know exactly what they're getting into. And I think that when you do that, then hopefully you've created a vision for the role that people can be excited about. And that's what I was trying to do. I wanted these people to want to be here. And I think that we've accomplished that. And it's been a total team effort in being able to get that done. And so I think that, like I said, it's been a competitive process, but I think that we've done it the right way. And I think it's reflected in the diversity of the staff. And, like Daniel mentioned, and some, Chris, some of the other people on this call, it was designed that way because you can't take this as far as you can take it with one way of thinking. It's just, that's not going to happen. And that's not what I want. That's not what we want. We want to be at the cutting edge of a lot of things, okay? How you teach, how you lead, how you scheme, how you evaluate. And we've wanted that competition of ideas, and the only way to get that is if you have a diverse background and, with your staff, and I think we've been able to accomplish that.
And lastly, for me, you mentioned about learning, and that you've learned a lot in the couple of weeks that you've been in this role already. Yeah. And Justin Herbert, you said you learned some stuff about Justin Herbert. What's the biggest thing you learned about Justin Herbert and kind of how to work with him in the future?
He's bigger in person than I thought. Bigger in person, which is hard to imagine because I knew he was big. So size, but just I think what I learned about him is that this guy's capable of a lot. This guy's got high capacity, and he's got a great head on his shoulders, like I told you. And that it's a great head on his shoulders from a composure, from ability to relate, to be one of the guys that's so important. And it's as important of anything that he could do on the field is just to be one of the guys in the locker room. And then his capacity mentally, how sharp he is, and how much this game means to him, and how willing he is to work at it. That's what I've enjoyed, getting to meet him in the times that we've spent together, and then just learning about his family, where he comes from, what's important to him, and kind of his personality, his style, because his style is different than other quarterbacks. They're all unique, like I said, and just learning Justin's style and what works for him, and we're just at the beginning. So lot to learn and a long way to go, but I've really enjoyed it. We're off to a good start.
Yeah, we'll keep it going, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Cameron.